I have not seen him, however.
Okay, we're live. We're ready. You want the agenda?
At this time, the mayor will call to order the special city council meeting and workshop, 4:30 p.m. Tuesday, October 20th of 2020. City Council Chambers, 201 East Nash Street, Terrell, Texas. For the record, we have remotely Grady Simpson, District 2. We have in chambers, District 3, Mayrani Velasquez, District 4, Charles Whitaker, and District 5, Tim Royce, I believe, is on his way, so while he's not here, he will be attending. This time, Grady, would you mind leading us in invocation, please? Turn your mic on.
Yes, Bill, come on. May we bow our heads, please. Oh, Father God, we give you thanks once again for this time, for this present moment. We give you thanks for guiding us and leading us here. We thank you for your wisdom. We thank you for your grand master plan for this world and for this universe. We know that you are in control. We ask that you will remind us to continue to lean upon you and your guidance so that we may be good leaders, good followers, and good students of your word. All in Jesus' name we pray. Amen.
Amen. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Honor the Texas flag. I pledge allegiance to Texas, one state, under God, one and indivisible.
Our next item on the agenda is to hear remarks from visitors. This is a workshop. I don't think we have any. Is that correct? New business? Yes. Yes, please.
There was posted a public hearing for the 5-year plan for through the housing department. And if anyone is here and wanting to speak on that item, if you would make that time available for them now.
So, if there was anyone here to speak on behalf of the public 5-year plan for housing to the city of Terrell, they didn't make the agenda, as I understand it, but we will give you an opportunity to come up and speak.
Yes, sir. And the public hearing will be rescheduled.
So we're going to reschedule the public hearing for the 5-year plan. If there's anyone here, they may can come forward now. Don't have any. So we'll go on to new business. 5.1 to discuss fiscal year 2020 crime statistics. This will be our police chief, Ken McEwen.
I'll have a copy of the presentation.
That's fine. Okay.
I'm pulling it up right here for you. I don't have a clicker that works.
Doesn't include my family.
We'll just admit it. Terrell Police Department collects crime data monthly and reports the data to the Department of Public Safety and Uniform Crime Report. UCR collects data on homicides, rapes, robberies, aggravated assaults, burglaries, motor vehicle thefts, larcenies, and thefts and arsons. Crimes are categorized by crimes against person and crimes against property. That is reported monthly.
I'm sorry, I have to go back.
Council, it is on our agenda packet. So big page 553, if you're following.
Okay.
I did not get to share my screen. I have to do that first. It just takes me a second to do that.
Anyway, we use the UCR numbers. We track them monthly. It gives us an idea of how our crime prevention programs are working. Also gives us a historical number that we can compare monthly data to see how we're doing versus what the norm would be. The next slide will show you a monthly report that we've been using for a number of years now on UCR numbers, and that comparing, this was September, so we compare September to the month before, gives you an idea of the percentage change based on the month. also compares the fiscal year-to-date number. The next category there is the same month of last year, so it compares September 2019 to 2018, gives us an idea of what the differences are, and then it will compare the 2 years to date, from 2018 to 2019. Now, this was a UCR number. The state of Texas has changed, which we'll go to in just a minute, but the next slide will show you a 12-year comparison of our UCR numbers. And the reason I do that is it gives us an idea of what average is. What does an average year look like? Are we above or below that average? Are we making any progress or not? And the title down in the pink there says index offenses on that chart. If you look at 09, 08, 09, it was 1,140 index offenses. And if you scroll all the way over to last year, last fiscal year, we ended with 548. So we dropped that number in half. Again, violent crimes have gone down. Just kind of go across and see where we are. Same with property crimes. And then crime rate, if you're interested in crime rate is reported as the number of crimes per 100,000 population. It's a general term to use to compare one city to another, even though we don't have 100,000 population. But if you do the math and extrapolate it out, you can get a number that can compare us to other cities. And our crime rate, you can see, has dropped considerably from 08 all the way through present, from 5,600 all the way down to 2,700. The next slide. This gives you an idea on the 1920 years. The first column gives you the number of murders, rapes, robberies that we had. The 12-year average, we usually average, let me just take rape offenses. We average 11 per year. Compared to our 12-year average, we had 17 last year, went up a little bit. When we compare fiscal year, the last column, fiscal year 1920 to fiscal year 1819, we went up in a few crimes. Scroll across. Our ag assaults went down considerably, 64%. Burglaries are down. I think all the rest of the categories are down, 57, 26. And then overall numbers, 25% index crime, 14 in violent, 26% down in property crimes. And then that reflects the same in our crime average. The next slide. Starting in January, all police departments will be required to report crime stats as NIBRs, under the NIBRs, which is National Institute Incident-Based Reporting System. It's a different system in the sense that UCR numbers will categorize the hierarchy crimes. So if you have a homicide, in commission of the homicide, maybe you steal something or you steal a car, the theft of the vehicle and the theft of cash per se isn't counted. The murder is. So UCR numbers only count the major crime. NIBRs will count every crime that happened during one incident. So we will be here. So if you compare the two, you're going to think our NIBR crime numbers went up. They didn't. Our NIBRs numbers will be higher than UCR because it's counting every offense that happened in a particular instant. NIBRs also counts all assaults, even if they're Class C, which UCR does not. So the assault numbers will be higher.
Will they be broken out into different, whether it's a Class C or if it's a?
No, on the NIBRs report, it'll just say assaults. Okay. Well, you look at one, it's probably the last slide that I'll show you.
Okay, no, you're fine.
But just letting you know that we're going to switch to NIBRs. Terrell's been reporting NIBRs numbers to the states, I think 2014. We started early. It's mandated in January. You have to do it. We've been doing it all along. Okay. We track UCR because historically we have a lot of years worth of that data to look at. So it just makes it easier for us to compare. Let's see, go to the next slide. one more. Okay, on this slide here is comparing some selected cities that are similar to us. And it is comparing the crime numbers, murder, rape, robberies, basically the UCR crimes. And it gives you an idea how we stand compared to Texarkana, Waxahachie, Kaufman, Paris, PD, Columbine, Cleburne, Greenville. Terrell, I ranked them on the left column by the total number of offenses. So we're at 497 for the year. Texarkana had 1,200, I believe. And then if you go down to the lowest number, which is Ennis, they had 126. That just gives you some idea kind of where we stand compared to our neighbors. These are also, this is not a full year, this data, we're missing 1 month. And then the very last slide is our NIBRS report. So the reports you'll be getting now will come out, they'll look like this one. So this is all inclusive. And if you look at assaults, which is the very top number, all it does is compare assaults from 1 year to the next. So previous year versus the current year for that month. It does not break it down by misdemeanor assault, like Class C or Class A or a felony assault. It just lumps them all together. So all these are Class A categories, are all crimes against people. And then on the next page, this is a three-page report which will be getting sent.
So let me just jump in there real quick so everybody's clear while she changes that slide out. So previously we had a process going here at the city where Ken would do his reports to his state and federal reporting entities. He'd send a copy over to the city manager's office and we'd kind of call it good. What I'd like to do now is to start something new this year. Because we are making this change, it seemed like a convenient time to start treating our crime statistics just the same way we do some of our other regular monthly reporting. So you're going to start getting an email on a regular basis with the data in it, because it's good just disclosure for us to say, okay, here's what these numbers look like. So while I do really like this format, I think it's very useful. I'm going to use can you put the next? That's fine.
That's the last.
So if now I'm on the agenda item 5.1 and I'm on page 13 of 53. So now I'm just in the council packet. If you look at the council packet, then I'm going to use counterfeiting forgery. And so it's got a whole run of the month-to-month statistics on it from last year, and it's got a run of month-to-month statistics on it from this year. So for me, month-to-month changes in counterfeiting forgery aren't really telling you much. So that's kind of a downside of this reporting format. But the beauty of this reporting format is the comparison between year to date. So now that I got a year of data, okay, I can really see, because I'm not so worried about the month-to-month variations, but I can say, okay, in January through September of 19, we had 43 forgery/counterfeiting, and in but calendar year 20, from January to September, now I'm showing 30 incidents of counterfeiting/forgery. And then there's that number that shows you a 30% reduction. So I go from 43 down to 30, that's a 30% reduction. That's kind of the data that I think is what's interesting on this page. Ken will give you a master's degree seminar on the month-to-month variations and seasonal variations in crime. So I don't know that you'll need to spend a lot of effort every month saying, oh my gosh, June was higher than April. I think what you're really going to look at here is how we're doing year to date on these. But there are 3 pages of this report that Ken's going to start providing, and you'll start getting these on a regular monthly basis from us, so that you can kind of keep track about what that data looks like. And we won't make it a big council agenda item every time, but it'll give you an opportunity to just ask questions about it. And if you see something interesting under animal cruelty, or you see something there under drugs and narcotics, or whatever it might be, then ask us a question. It's good data for us to be doing the report. So,
in the reporting, though, these are just offenses. It has nothing to do with the crimes that have been solved, or...
No, we can run that report if you'd like to see it. It's a NIVER's report that'll come on. It'll crimes reported, crimes cleared.
Okay.
You can do that too.
I mean,
the only thing this will not do is a fiscal year comparison.
Okay.
It's calendar year. That's why this one's not complete, because it stopped in September. So that October, November, December before we get a calendar year end date or comparison.
And I don't know, legal, Mary Gill, what is available to us or isn't available to us on the statistics? If we could get that report, that'd be great. I mean, I'd like to see it and see how the department's handling the offenses. And
you're talking about clearance rate?
yes.
Okay.
Yes.
Okay.
Okay. Thank you, Chief. Anyone have any comments?
Good evening, Chief. I have two different questions. My first question is in regards to what changes have we seen in calls that our police department is receiving and offenses during the COVID-19 time period that we're in. And then second, we're wondering about those families that are calling in regarding some sort of domestic violence in their home, and how they're categorized, and whether that fits into assault, or what category I would expect to see those under.
Those crimes, domestic violence, will show up under assaults. And what you'll see if you look at this, August to September went up a little bit, July went up, June. So if you look at March, that's when we went on lockdown. So March went from 31 offenses this year to April of 18.
Mm-hmm.
So you can see a dramatic drop.
Mm-hmm.
Okay. But it started to rise again. May, June, July, we saw domestic violence assaults start to go up again, because people were kind of locked down, getting unhappy about being there. When people were free to leave the home and move about, we saw retail thefts go up, which would be expected. So that's how it's impacted us. Burglaries went down. Burglars are starting to go down. Motor vehicle thefts are going up.
Okay.
Now, most of those are due to unlocked cars, but they are going up. Motor vehicle burglaries. One of the things that I'll bring to you, I guess towards the close of this year, would be accomplishments, and one of those is going to be call load. So even though our crime stats are going down, our call load is going up. So we'll probably finish this fiscal year pretty close to 50,000 calls for service, which is up from about 35,000 last year. So it's dramatic.
Significant.
So we're getting more calls for service, we're getting less crimes, but more calls.
And that's what I also wondered with, taking domestic violence as an example, because of the time periods that families have been in the household, and if we get a call on something that could be domestic violence, or they're indicating it's domestic violence, does that mean it in the system it's automatically listed as assault, or is that dependent on whether that individual decides to call it assault?
It depends on what the crime is. If it's an assault, it will be listed in NIVERS as an assault. They don't break it down as family violence. It's just an assault. If it's some other crime that has to do, that's within the family dynamic, it would fit into one of the other categories. But again, they don't break it out as a family violence or a domestic nature. They just classify it by the actual crime. And that's something we could probably pull out of our own data, separate that and look at it.
A separate report?
Yeah.
So Chief, if
Neither
you,
will do it.
does it matter or not whether you press charges for it to be on the report? In other words,
No.
if you get called to a home and, or is it's,
If we take an offense report, it's,
okay,
it goes on here. And these are generated by our software. It's not like we go in and populate this report. It brings it directly off our software and directly sends it to the state. That's one nice thing about the NIBR system is it's automatic.
okay.
You can't go in there and change it or fool with it or make it worse or better or whatever. UCR numbers are calculated by us. Check mark every offense.
Cool.
Thank you, Chief.
Thank you.
All right. You had also the Citizens Police Academy, is that also on your?
Yes, I got
Okay.
a couple slides on that.
Sure. Great.
The Terrell Police Department sponsoring the Citizens Police Academy with the goal to educate citizens of Terrell on the operations of the department. It's accomplished through a series of lectures, hands-on activities on Thursday evenings from 7 p.m. to 9 p.m. for 10 weeks. The date has been selected. That's not hard and fast. If it needs to change, we certainly can. The Citizens Police Academy is led by department. While all lectures, activities taught by police officers are currently assigned are directly involved in the policing activities covered in their segment of the academy. So obviously we're going to have detectives that will be teaching the criminal investigation part. Patrolmen who do patrol will teach that. Traffic guys will teach traffic. CPA is conducted at the Terrell Police Department Rosenbaum Room. Equipment used during the CPA is the same equipment used to train police officers. Next slide. Who can attend? Citizens who reside or work in the city of Terrell, who are 18 years of age or out of high school, so they have been graduated. Possess a valid Texas driver's license, successfully complete a background investigation. And the first class will be comprised of 4 persons from each council district that have recommended their council persons. So we're asking you to recommend people who would be civic leader minded, that want to get involved in relations between the community and the police department, and make those recommendations to those to join our CPA. And then what they would do next, well, there's a list of classes that we just listed in there so you would be familiar with what we'll be teaching. Again, each one is about an hour long, so we'll probably have 2 classes per night. Admin organization, history of law enforcement, officer selection process, that's from the recruit. How do we get them? How do we test them? How do we hire them? What do they have to go through? Patrol division, how does the uniformed officers work? What do they do? Jail operations and a visit, criminal investigations, SWAT, traffic enforcement, communications, which is our dispatch center, 911, and how all that works, a tour of the facility, defensive tactics and use of force, real important this time of day with what's going on in the world. How do we determine what force you can use and how it's applied? Evidence and property, crime scene, narcotics operations, family violence and child abuse. And then the last night we do practicals, so we'll do building search practicals, and we'll actually do traffic stops. So they'll be able to use a police car and stop a vehicle in our parking lot or some large parking lot somewhere and actually do a traffic stop, hands-on-hand scenario for people. So the next step would be council members will need to recruit candidates for class. So y'all determine who you want to invite. They can either get in touch with us and we'll get them an application, or I can leave some with City Hall, or I can leave them with you individually, and you can give them the application. They'll need to fill out the application and turn it in to the police department. The reason we have it going to the police department is it'll have some personal information about them that you probably don't want to be hanging on to yourself. And we will do a background check, make sure that they can take the class. And then they successfully pass that, we will put down a list of attendees, and we will let you know, hey, of the 4 people you recommended, all 4 will be joining us, or we'll let you know who's going to be coming to the class, so you'll have that information. And then the start date that we have is set for January 7th, which is a Thursday. So that means we'd like to get the applications in by probably December the 11th, so we have time to actually process them and check them and let them know where they need to come and prepare training materials and stuff for everybody.
So as far as the process of handling the applications, let's try to decide if we're gonna do it or if they're gonna go pick them up. That way we don't think one's going one way or the other. Let's have one process. I think it would be better for the council members to make sure that they get their full members, their applications, and then they turn it into the board.
Yeah, I guess I'm gonna definitely have a heavy council involvement comment here. I don't think you want a open-ended process where people can use the website to apply or come in and pick something up at the city secretary's office. This really needs to be a by invitation sort of a thing.
The first one.
Yes. And so we're kickstarting this, we hope, with folks that you guys know in the community who you feel like will be very good hand-selected contacts. And I'd say the sooner that you move forward and start getting your group of four together, the better, because undoubtedly there's going to be someone who might not pass a background. And I would say that you probably don't want to trumpet at the, your Facebook page or you tell all your friends, hey, I picked Bob to be on it, and then Bob fails the background check, So you want to be very delicate about it because you want to give people a chance to not get embarrassed by anything here. So I am very sure that Councilman Whitaker will have a very good list of four. Let the record show.
Can't have family. I mean, I don't qualify.
I do think that it's worth a workshop, and I do think that we can bring this back for workshop because it does seem like you each will want to make sure you're not selecting the same person. And so my suggestion is going to be that we come forward probably maybe the November 3rd meeting, maybe the November 10th meeting, and give you guys an opportunity to just have a little discussion about it and let you sort of informally kick around some names so that you see, okay, this person's going with those names, so maybe I'll do this with my names, do a little contrast comparison there. But this isn't something we're proposing to do with voting. Because this should just be for recommendations from each council member, and that'll give you guys the flexibility if you do find somebody who had to step back or had to get kicked out by a background check or just couldn't do it at the last minute. Give you a little bit more flexibility to go grab somebody and stick them in there at the last minute. So that's how we're approaching it. But if you'd like a different approach, we'd be happy to talk about it.
And we will recommend how many?
Four.
Okay.
Each council member should be thinking, what four folks in the community will it be most helpful for our police department to take those four folks through so they can sort of be ambassadors. The way that Ken has seen this work in other cities is that you actually get more robust here. Let's say we do 2 or 3 of these things and then say, you know what? Look at that alumni group we've got. Man, we've taken 40, 60 people through this thing, and you get a good, healthy alumni group. That alumni group can become very, very helpful for you. And I know there's other state associations. You want to talk about the state group a little bit?
There is an actual Texas Police Department Academy organization that you, as a city, basically your Citizens Police Academy becomes run by the alumni who graduate from it. And they form a nonprofit and they join the state's organization who brings them all together and mentors them and has conventions and whatnot throughout the state each year. And it becomes quite a large resource for the police department. A lot of cities, larger cities, use them as volunteers in policing, where alumni can do volunteer policing patrol. They do all kinds of things for the city, things for the police department. So it's just a good source of manpower, and it's a source of people who are well connected with the department, and then you put that out into the community. So it's a great liaison for us and the public.
Right.
We've done it, probably had 10 or 11 academies back in the day, and they were all well received. Everybody that graduated had great things to say about it. I never had anybody say this is a horrible program, and I wish I'd never.
Right, yeah, and I don't feel like we need to look at this as we need to run and go join a state association and make a nonprofit immediately. I'm just saying you need to be thinking about, hey, you're nominating people here, you're putting people on this group, I should say, who could create a real backbone for us, could create a real source of strength for us. So be thinking about that in the back of your mind. It may take us 2 or 3 classes to have enough people enthusiastic enough to create a nonprofit and do some of these other steps, but be thinking about who you could put on who would be probably a diverse group, probably a group of people from way different geographic places in the city, probably a group with lots of different background and context out in the community, but also people who all fit the heading of being a leader.
Yeah. Well, one of the goals I think I have as mayor for this class is to bring our citizens and the police department together so that they understand how how the department works within the community. One of the things, I love the bullet points that you presented, Chief, but and I'm sure in one of them somewhere there is the race relations.
Yes.
That's going to be addressed, and the sensitivity that we have.
Usually what happens is that these become basically just a general outline for the class, but that discussion evolves as you're presenting it. Those issues come up probably more than once in various classes.
I had no doubt that that was going to be the case, but I just wanted to make sure that somewhere in there that we were going to address that, especially the climates today. Thank you so much. I'm excited for our citizens to be able to see firsthand what a great police department chief we have. And then it'll spread throughout the community as they learn and as we get more folks involved in it. It's a great thing for us.
So what we'll do is we'll make sure that at Omira's desk there is a little stack of copies of information about the police academy, so that as you guys are interacting with folks you might ask to have on it, you can have a little thing to pick up and say, hey, this is a little summary about what this is, because it's a lot of information. It's good to have some written information there. So we'll have that at Omira's desk that you can pick up and then take out to members of the community. The last thing I was going to ask you to mention during this topic is how you're putting our law enforcement partners into the different sessions. So talk about what we're going to have with our other cooperating agencies here.
The folks that we would cooperate with during investigations would be brought in whenever that segment is. For instance, let's use criminal investigations. So they'll come in and they'll talk about how a case moves through the system. They'll probably talk about some cases that they've worked that are adjudicated and over. But they'll also bring in other resources that we use, like Texas Rangers, Sheriff's Department, federal agencies. So we'll have an opportunity, if they want to make themselves available, to come and meet the citizens, and then also how we work together. So we'll bring them in as often as we can and where they would be appropriate, as far as like patrol tactics. Would have state troopers, other agencies nearby us, Forney, Sheriff's Department, because we all work together and we may all show up at the same time in different scenes. So give an opportunity to let them know it's not just us out there. We have a lot of people working with us.
Good. All right. Thank you, Chief.
Thank you, Chief.
Our next item on the agenda is discuss Park Deferred Maintenance Program update. This is Director of Public Services, Glenn Caldwell. You come forward. He's delegating this to someone else, I see.
Good afternoon, Council. Today we'll be discussing the park deferred maintenance program. If you go to the next page, Don.
Yeah.
That's gonna be page 21 of 53 in our packet, Council.
Okay, as she's getting that set up. We'll be discussing our completed projects first. The shade structures, as some of the council members and city manager have seen already, they have been completed all over the city of Terrell. For Breezy Hill, we have our phase 1 and phase 2 trail that is also completed. For the Arley White paving sidewalk trail, phase 1 gazebo, phase 2 has also been completed, and the design of the parking lot paving plan has been assessed and has been completed. For the Stallings siren relocation, that has been completed, and you'll be able to see that in future slides. It is located on the corner of Gardner and College Mountain Road. For Ben Gill, we have the selection of the new playground equipment that has been done. The existing playground equipment parts have been replaced and painted. Did you want to make a remark on the painting of the playgrounds? Or?
The playgrounds that hold the park, existing playgrounds, will be painted as well. I know they're not complete right now, but they are on our FY21 list of tasks.
Thank you, Mr. Caldwell. Also, the swimming pool plaster and slide maintenance is also being completed. So pool is pretty much ready to go. Next slide, please. And as you can see, you have our before and after pictures of Bengill Park. You can see on the southwest corner of the playground that it now has shading, so when that sun is beaming in that area, the kids will now be protected from the sun. Okay. And you can see there in Kings Creek Park, Breezy Hill Park, and Arley White Park, you can see the progression of when they started putting poles up, putting the shade up in the playgrounds, and you can see the completed points as well, so people will be able to see that as well, and they're all completed. Next one. And you can see all you have already experienced the Stallings Park shades, and that is completed as well, and I hope you guys all like the shades over there. Okay. And then for the Stallings, you can see that has been placed up and it's ready to go, it's operational. And
Has it been tested?
yes, as far as I know, it has been tested.
Yes, sir. Mr. Mayor.
And for our projects in progress, we have the sidewalk trail lighting. That has been completed. The repair and replacement of park equipment, such as benches, fountains, etc. They are on the way.
Darnell, when you say sidewalk trail lighting, is that for?
This is for all the parks,
Oh, for all the parks.
the walking trails.
So Bengill has lighting, right? So we have existing lighting there.
There's existing lighting at
Sidewalk
Bengill,
on?
yes.
Or is it only for,
The
Arley
improvements.
White? Go ahead.
Council, it's for the improvements that we just installed. Sidewalks that we just installed at Breezy Hill and Stallings will have trail lighting.
Okay.
Not Bengill. Bengill has lighting
Right.
existing.
Can I just
So
check,
it's in round
did you just say Breezy Hill and Arley White?
Stallings.
Stallings.
And we will do Arley White as well, yes, sir.
Okay.
But you gotta remember, Arley White walking trail was installed at a previous time on a previous project. But that location will as well be included with light, will have light.
Well, I know we're on the sidewalk trail lighting conversation. One of the things I'd really like to see, because when I think about Kings Creek Park and have been out there, there's no, there's not one lamp, there's not two lamps out there, to see what we could have this year. And I believe we have some money set aside for lighting and lamps in this year's budget. So I'd really like to, encourage council support and staff support on having lighting added there.
Is the lighting, is it solar or is it wired?
They're solar, they're going to be solar.
Mine will probably be drop lights.
Candles? We're gonna light some candles. All right.
Okay, thank you. All right, Arley White parking lot repaving. The plans for that are in progress. The Ben Gill 100% design plans, playground elements and paving construction. That is in progress, and we're hoping to get that to you very soon. The Breezy Hill 100% plan, ball field and lighting improvements, and ball field lighting and scoreboard procurement. Those are also in progress. And for Stallings, the 100% plan design, parking reconstruction and landscaping, those are also in progress and hope to be done very soon.
One more piece of feedback for, and really kind of education for me as well, is one of the things that I keep hearing from our Kings Creek members, because, not many were a fan of the major park improvements that we were looking to do at Kings Creek, but community members would still like to have, some update. And when we talked about some of that today, right, the canopy shading, the painting, some of the, I know we've talked about this before, resetting the seating there, the seating there, and maybe doing some painting there. And we just talked about the lighting. But one of the things that I continue to see for Kings Creek and hear back from community members is, a sidewalk that runs maybe, have some thoughts here, and we can continue to have this conversation on what it may look like, but a sidewalk that would run parallel to Kings Creek Street, that's on the park side, and what we could do to maybe configure, add a walking trail in an area that makes sense. And I know we have flooding, so maybe trying to put it in an area where we don't have as much flooding, and of course I would say let's work to decrease the flooding that we have there. But if we could work on, a plan to where we could add some sort of sidewalk and walking area, because I do see community members, and every time that I'm out in Kings Creek, I see community members walking, and they're walking, especially in Kings Creek Street there, and we know it's the main entrance to the neighborhood, so it's not necessarily the safest for them to be on the road there.
Yes, ma'am. Point taken.
Next slide, please. I want to go over a few of the financials associated with the deferred part. These are actually summaries. If you take a look at the first column of that particular item, it shows that a dollar amount that was identified for each area of the park. The first column shows the deferred maintenance dollar amount committed, which if you look at engineering, there was $220,000. Contingency, we had $59,699.19. Ben Gill, we committed $500,000. Breezy Hill, we committed $250,000. Stallings Park, $190,000. Arley White, $160,000. And what we were able to do was we had identified actual maintenance needs, and as well as when you get into a project, there's a need for additional tasks that need to take place. So we identified actual dollar amount that we spent along with the alternate expenses and summarize those, and that gives you your total expenses to date, which is in the fourth column. And as you can see, for engineering, we spent $183,785. Contingency, we have not touched. Ben Gill Park, we've spent to date $144,923.44. Breezy Hill Park, we have spent $129,073.60. Stallings Park, we have spent $34,910 to date. And Arley White Park, we spent $34,657.75. And as well, the dollars that we are spending, we are going to include our parkland dedication funds as a part of the dollar value that we will invest in our park system. And I think there's, next slide, please. Are there any questions associated with the finances? Okay, next slide we'll talk about is the future projects.
Glenn,
I'm sorry.
and not
Yes.
necessarily a question, but so are we saying, aside, we have the 545,000 total expenses so far, and then the committed amount is, close to that 1.4 million. And so are we saying that if we take away the 545,000 from the 1.4 million, everything that's remaining, and you might have the answer on this next slide here, is there wiggle room to add more feedback from council on what we could address and also staff's feedback on what else we could address?
So I'm going to take that one for Glenn. Remember that we borrowed 1.4 million. But we actually increased that dollar amount a little bit by adding to the 1.4 million the parkland dedication money. So that's adding a net of somewhere around $150,000 total scattered out amongst the parks. And then also we did increase the budgeted estimate in this year's FY21 period. We increased that by, I think, about another $100,000 in the capital improvement fund. So if you actually look at the revenue into the capital improvement fund was a total of 1.4 million. The expenses in the capital improvement fund are a bit higher than that. And we did that so that we would have a little bit of, as you say, wiggle room here. And I'd like to make some progress on what we have on this page, because I need to, I guess I'll say before I start adding stuff, I'd like to get closer to finalizing my costs at the projects as shown. But that as we get closer to the end of this thing, I think that's going to be the time to come back to council and say, hey, it looks like we're going to have such and such dollar amount. How do you feel about moving forward with this particular initiative? And I think we've been hearing some of that and seeing some of that as we go from park to park and get our work done here. Some of it, I don't need your vote to add it. I'm just telling you that we're going to program painting each of our playgrounds. That's an overdue thing, and we need to maintain our playgrounds on a regular basis by giving them a fresh coat of paint. So Glenn has that on the docket anyway. But I think when we're talking about more major things like, gosh, I wish we had a little bit of additional sidewalk over there, or maybe we have a need for some additional sage structure we didn't anticipate up front. Whatever it might be, we'll keep an eye on those and keep a running list of those. And I think the other entity that will vet that, obviously, is going to be our park board. Park board is definitely involved here, and as they see things, I can assure you they're not shy in raising their hand. So,
Thank you, Mr. Sims. Thank you, Council. One of the things I want to close with is have our consultant with Half and Associates come in and close this particular item out, and this will help shed light on our progression and how quickly we should get through the next phase of the project so we know what else we can spend money on.
Sure. Thank you, Council, Mayor. And if you could progress one more slide there, I think we're missing some information. Perfect. All right, so just to kind of give you an update on the FY 2020 Deferred Park Maintenance Project in progress. All right, we've gotten a really good breakdown of the things that have been completed by Mr. Caldwell. And so what I'd like to share with you is things that are going on right now. And so currently for construction document phase, we're completing the 100% phase 2 for Breezy Hill. And also we've completed the Ben Gill Park 100% plan set, as well as Stallings Park for that particular project. These plans have been submitted to the Texas Department of Licensing and Registration to look at review or ADA access. And so we actually received those comments today back from them. And so we're going to address those. Once those are complete, then we're looking at bidding these 3 projects here within the next 3 weeks. Also in progress, you mentioned Kings Creek, and so I'm glad to get those additional comments, and so we'll make sure those are incorporated into the Kings Creek Park Master Plan. Okay. As far as the overall schedule, we're currently, I'll share with you one of our other projects we're currently working with you all on was for Texas Parks and Wildlife grant. But for next year, we're planning to submit Kings Creek Park, because I think that's also a great project for a future grant application. And a little bit later, we're going to be talking about the Crossroads Park. It's a very exciting project that we're working on with you all. This park has been dedicated as part of the developer agreement between the developer and the city on the Crossroads development. That's about an 11-acre piece of land that's been dedicated. And so we are actively submitting and developing a Texas Parks and Wildlife grant, which we'll bring that to you here on this evening to get your thoughts and review on that project. And so here we've met with Park Board last week. We presented them the update to the deferred maintenance as well as the concept plans for Crossroads Park. Here we're presenting this to you all tonight to get your any additional feedback and input from you all. And then from there, once it's all been approved, then we'll go to bidding on the project and through the construction process. So with that, I'd like to open up if there's any questions that you may have for this evening.
So as we looked at the funding, the 800, just north of 834,000, I think, will be used in the remainder of the projects that we have moving forward.
Yes, sir, that is correct. That is correct, yes.
Do you have any questions or comments?
Yes.
Okay, go ahead.
Sir, did Mr. Caldwell tell you anything about me?
Councilman Whitaker.
Well,
District 4.
you know, Arlie White, you know, the symbolism is great when construction documents and there's line through Arlie White complete. And I just don't think we're anywhere close to being complete over there. But Mr. Caldwell, Mr. Sims, things are so much better than it used to be. And I really hate to say that, but it is. Things have been coordinated over there. Things have come together over there. But things are growing so fast over there. I think, you know, the new development out north and stuff, there's going to have to be neighborhood parks and stuff like that. Because all of what's being used, you know, it's ever growing out there. So just always keep that in mind.
I would, just as a reminder that part of that development is going to include some amenities for that development, specifically for that development, similar to what a neighborhood park would be. They're going to have some amenities over there that's going to help out, and it may relieve some pressure. Right?
And absolutely, I wouldn't normally talk about land in depth, but if you put yourself in the mind of standing at Arlie White and looking downstream from the creek toward Emmanuel Baptist, those of you who are familiar with that area of land will know that the Kings Creek developer is getting good progress made toward dedicating some land over there, and they'll have to make some improvements to that land for a little bit of a park expansion. The problem is that, and we've only had very preliminary discussions about this, the problem is that Arlie White is separated from that land that's going to be dedicated by land held by the school district, because it's basically the back lot of Long Elementary. And so we do have a need, Councilman. Probably one of the top things we need to do as we're rounding out this line of work is to sit down with the school district and talk to them about a cooperative agreement on that land that is their unused. It's basically land they have to mow. So, you know, it's going to be a big issue for us to make that connection. It's really similar to the conversation we need to have with the school district with the land behind Gilbert Willey. Those are two locations where there's excess holdings by the school district, and we need to be doing some good conversations with them about what we might be able to use that land for to be a benefit. So I'm anxious to get kind of graduate to that next phase.
I scrolled off the page here. So when I'm looking at the progress and we talk about, I'm looking at the construction documents section here. Bengill Park, 100 plans under review. Stallings, 100 plans under review. and those are certainly, Stallings Park, I think we do have a good plan based on, the park master plan and what we've seen being done and what we'd like to do in the future. So educate me here on what I can expect to see. What does Kings Creek map in progress? What does that mean in, next steps?
Sure. So for the Kings Creek Park Master Plan, I think it was last presented sometime earlier in the year, and the comments that we received back from you as well as the council that, our understanding that the citizens that live within that community does not want to have a large, robust park, and they want to keep it more simple and have more focus on a pavilion structure, playground update and enhancement, walking trails, and things of that sort. And so those are the items that we are incorporating into it. I was not aware of the parallel trail or sidewalk adjacent to the street, and so we'll look at adding that and creating more of a loop-like trail network within a park, but also look at what it means to have a future extension as it connects under the major roadway and ties back into the city. And so for us and for me, I think about the big picture of how do we look at funding opportunities for either through Texas Parks and Wildlife or the next call for projects through North Central Texas Council of Governments, and so that we can have a plan in place that really sets us up for future funding opportunities.
And I appreciate you sharing that with me. What I'd like to see is, and let me start off by saying that, plans for some of our other parks, Half Associates does a wonderful job in kind of setting that vision, right, based on feedback that our community has provided. It just didn't work out for Kings Creek Park and what the existing neighborhood wants there. And I want to keep that in mind while also thinking about the future and those that will come after those that, at some point will no longer be living in the neighborhood. I'd really like to see whether it's, maybe in working with Glenn and our park board, and keeping in mind, our current restrictions with COVID-19. In the past, I really wanted to have something pre-COVID-19 was, have a park board meeting out there and an opportunity for our community members to come give feedback, maybe look at some ideas on what that park could look like while still keeping it kind of a close-knit community. So I know we have COVID and have restrictions, so I'm open to feedback on, is that something that would still work for our community members? Should we have attendance or not? But also looking at opportunities, whether it's mailing something through the utility bill that community members receive, or something online to get comments.
Yeah, let me take this one for a moment. Just think about your steps to get to a good grant application. 12 months from now, if all of this goes well, and we can find the money, find the match, find the vision, we're basically 12 months away from needing to apply for a Kings Creek grant. So that means these guys have a lot of work to do. And so think about your steps. You're going to develop a plan. You're going to show it to the park board. The park board's going to have to say, yeah, we like it enough that it makes sense to share it with the neighborhood. We can find a mechanism to share it with the neighborhood, whether that's one strategy or another strategy. Right now, there's plenty of ways to get out there and have a little community meeting and treat it just like we would with the Stallings Neighborhood Association, right? If we have a Stallings Neighborhood Association meeting, I can get 20 people together right away and they can look at that park plan. I think we can do the same thing for Kings Creek, and where we exactly have that meeting, we can figure that out, but we can get a little invite out and do that. Then after it gets feedback from the community, you got to go back to the park board with a version of the plan that matches the feedback we got from the community. And then, you might have, hopefully not, but you might have more than one iteration of that, because maybe there'll be disagreements or differences in the vision. And then hopefully you get to a point where we can say, okay, consulting team, Glenn Caldwell, let's work together, let's get a set of cost estimates up and enough meat on the bone of the idea so that it can turn into a park application, because it's a more robust version of data and information that has to go into that grant application than just one pretty drawing. If you're going to win your grant application, we have to give these guys the vision early enough in the year so they can spend, I'm going to say, roughly between at least July and October hammering out a really good set of details so that it ends up at City Council next October ready to be voted on for a grant application, okay? So all that to say, there's a lot of steps, and we just barely have enough time to do it. So.
Hey, Mayor, I have a comment, and whenever you're ready.
Yes, go ahead.
Hey, there's a few thank yous that should happen here. So I would say, hey, 4 years ago, it was hard to scrape together any money for any park improvements, and because of administration and council's, I guess, collected stacking of the hands, we were able to do it. So it is, do not want to underestimate what a large accomplishment this is, because spending $1.5 million on parks just doesn't happen every year. So I just wanted to say thank you to all of council for the support, and definitely to Glenn and his team, because it's been a long road. And then the second part would be, hey, remember in the summers to come, when we do budget workshop, we need Glenn's team to be pretty critical on telling us what a replacement schedule would look like. Certainly this stuff will last for years, but the parks equipment starts deteriorating from day one. So every summer, we just need to be able to keep up with a list of what is deteriorating so it can be replaced. Our parks got into bad shape because there was not enough money allocated through many decades. I mean, really, there just wasn't enough money allocated to parks. So just remember that in the summertime, when budget retreat comes, let's just make sure we fund a good replacement program and maintenance program. And that's it.
All right, thank you, Councilman. Anyone else? Thank you all very much. Our next item on the agenda is to discuss ordinance number 2822, establishing an active and continuing records management program to be administered by the Records Management Officer. This is City Secretary Donna Dodd.
Mayor and Council, Title VI, Subtitle C of the Local Government Code requires that a municipality must establish by ordinance an active and continuing records management program to be administered by a records management officer. This ordinance basically appoints a records management officer for the city. It also outlines the duties of the records management officer as well as the records control schedule. This ordinance will be filed with the Texas State Library and Archives Commission. They govern the records retention requirements for cities, and records management has always fallen under the city secretary job description. So this is an ongoing thing that I do. We don't currently have a written records management plan, and so my next step will be to develop a written plan to submit to council for approval.
So this is just going to make you officially the
Yes.
records management officer,
Yes.
and then put in line or put in place what all needs to happen.
Yes.
Okay.
And this will
Pretty
be,
simple.
this will come to y'all next week for approval.
Does anybody have any questions on that? That's pretty simple. Item number 5.5 is discuss resolution 997, a resolution of the City Council of the City of Terrell, Texas, authorizing the submission of the local park grant program application to the Texas Park and Wildlife Department for the local park non-urban outdoor program fund, and authorizing the city manager to act as the city's authorized representative in all matters pertaining to the city's participation in the local park grant program. This is Director of Public Services, Glenn Caldwell.
Yes, sir. Mr. Mayor, Council, we're excited to bring before you a resolution that we've already taken forward to the Parks Board. We took it to the Parks Board, and they unanimously made the recommendation that we move forward to council with the resolution for the application for the Parks Grant. Now, what I want to do is I want to immediately take this item over and hand it to our consultant, Halfin Associates. He's going to do a very brief presentation. In your packet, you're going to have some information related to a separate project which is not related to Crossroads, so disregard that particular item, and it's related to College Street Park. So that is not a part of what we're presenting tonight.
Okay. Good evening again. And so tonight we're going to present to you the Crossroads Park master plan, as well as the grant application that we are preparing right now for these on behalf of the City of Terrell. And so, as you recall, back in 2018, we developed a parks and open space master plan for the city. This looks at creating a well-connected, equitable, and quality park system that provides a catalyst for economic development. And so, with this plan, we identified two new parks, and one that we're going to focus on this evening will be Crossroads Park. On the next slide, the park's located just north of I-20 and south of 557. This is in the area of the new Crossroads development, which serves as a unique opportunity to provide recreation to serve future residents that will be coming and living within the area, but also provide recreation to people that are coming there to eat, to socialize, to shop. And so this will be a great opportunity to have a park within this new area. And so Crossroads Park is an 11-acre urban park. Right now we're in process of developing a master plan. With that master plan, we looked at phasing, as well as overall cost estimate and the Texas Parks and Wildlife grant application. This grant application is actually due on November 6th, but we want to be ahead of the game and get it submitted by November 5th for this year. This is a 50-50 match, meaning for the outdoor urban grant, there's a $750,000 match that we are going to provide on our end. And so hopefully when we add these two pots of money together, that sum will be about $1.5 million for a park within this vicinity. The new park would include walking trails and overlooks, nature playscape, plaza, fountain area, playground with shading, also to meet some of the Texas Parks and Wildlife grant requirements, having pollinators for butterfly attractors for butterfly garden. Also looking at opportunities to incorporate interpretive signage to maybe talk about some of the unique things that we found out about how this park was developed with film, art, and culture and music, and having some of those signage in there, as well as having a themed playground for the park development. Other ancillary items include a pavilion, as well as picnic tables, benches, and trash receptacles. And so early on, we developed three preliminary concepts for Crossroads. At the time, it was called Film Alley Park, but it's Crossroads Park. This included a film because of the adjacent movie theater, music, as well as art. And so in this concept, this image right here, the green is that long linear piece of land that was dedicated by the developer to the city, and that large area to the left of the plan is that plus or minus 2 acre, what we call the urban park aspect of the plan. What's identified there in blue is a drainage channel. And so this development over, I'll call it the north side or top of the plan, you have a future hotel and conference center. On the far right, you have about 10.5 to 11 acre multi-family apartment complex that's coming in. That's roughly going to have about 250 units. Just west of that, you're going to have another apartment complex that will have another 285 units, as well as a future senior facility within the area. To the south or bottom of the plan, we've already mentioned the movie theater, but also you have shopping, restaurants, and a lot of retail and commercial type development within this area. So we see this opportunity as not only providing recreation in a fast-growing and newly developed part of Terrell, but also to serve the residents and people that are visiting within this area. Next slide, please. And so, looking at the preliminary concept plan, starting right, moving to left, we're looking at adding a 10-foot wide, 10 to 12-foot wide walking trail. One of the things that is some of the new requirements from Texas Parks and Wildlife, they're looking at social distancing as one of those components. And so, having a linear component or a trail component provides those opportunities for social distancing, but also having seating nodes there for well to have people that can sit and enjoy the landscape and some of the natural plantings that we're incorporating into the plan. We're also tying into an existing very small little pocket park that the multifamily is providing up there. This plan will also provide access and connectivity with a future pedestrian bridge that will connect the movie theater to the hotel conference center. As you move westward or southward on plan, or to the left, then you start to come into the main area of the overall 2-acre urban park area. Next slide. And so the focus of that new urban park area includes, from left to right, a water feature that would help to collect some of the surface runoff on site. You've got 3 circled areas. One is to have interpretive play or kind of have a music-themed play element. One is the arts, and the other one would be having some type of music-themed element. And so this starts to have a walking trail around the 3 different nodes. You've got also shade pavilions, landscaping. And as you look along American Way, one of the things that we've I didn't quite notice this, but out there, but there's also I-20 that is just south of the project. And so having some type of berming, and we wanted to recess the plaza area, so now we've got a little bit of elevation change there. And that would help with the auditory sounds that we're hearing from the freeway. So it would actually as a deflector for some of the noise that you're hearing there. And so by adding in additional landscape plantings, trees, this becomes a really nice focal point for the people that would come to the future hotel conference center. But also as you get out or maybe waiting for the movies, you're able to come across and enjoy Crossroads New Urban Park. And so the thought of this is to provide, again, this linear connectivity. Sorry, next slide. Next slide, please. Having this walkway that goes from the north edge of, right there, and going back towards the west. And originally we looked at phase 1, phase 2. Currently, I believe the amount is, I think there's roughly about $750,000 that has been dedicated as part of the development by the developer for the project. And we're going to use that as a match to, as part of our match for the Texas Parks and Wildlife grant. And so our rough estimate right now for phase 1 and phase 2 is about $1.41 million, and the grant ceiling is about 1.5. And so we're going to try and max that out and get as much funding available for this particular project. And so I'd just like to open up for any questions or comments that you may have.
Okay, so as I see it, it looks like we're trying to make the Crossroads a destination versus just somebody coming in and shopping. I think that's a good thing. The fact that we're able to double the dollar amount by matching it with $750 and getting 1.5 is great. The bridge, though, you mentioned is future, so that's not included in?
No, sir, that is not included. It would actually push us above our match in the grant, so we'll have to.
Do we have any idea what the cost of that pedestrian bridge might be?
Yes, we did look at that, and it's roughly about $380,000 for that bridge.
All right.
So I will pitch in here that, first off, great job. I think Lenny and Glenn have done a wonderful job on this, and kudos to the park board because they've been looking at this as well. I would say that if I go back to the numbers, remember we've got a $700,000 payment from the first apartment complex developer. Then we've got a senior center, a senior housing development that wants to come in directly adjacent to all of this. I think we're going to have some other park dedication funds come in right along the period of time that we're working on this. So we are confident that we're going to be able to get this full grant amount. Mayor, I'm cognizant of the desire to go ahead and get that bridge built. In fact, we have a contractual obligation on our side of some of our development agreements to use some of the park fees out here to get that bridge built. So I'm sure that we'll be able to pull it off, not just because of the first $700,000, but because some of our additional development partners will also be dedicating some additional park dedication funds here.
So, again, be clear on the water retention or blue area that was in slide, on page 43 of 53. I don't assume there's any gondolas or any, it's not enough water.
No, sir.
Yeah, I didn't think so. It's
Yeah.
much smaller. But another thing is there any lighting that is including in this or not?
Yes, so with the development of this application, we are including lighting along the pathways. And so we've lighting along the pathways as well as lighting on the urban plaza area.
All right, that's all I have. Does anybody have any questions?
So, I mean, I'm really enjoying seeing this and all the parks improvements and plans. And so from what was mentioned by Lenny early, a moment ago, so there's an opportunity in the park in the way that it's planned to be built, to whether maybe if you wanted to do, if the movie theater wanted to do like movies outdoors, or maybe the hotel in the future, the convention center wanted to do movies outdoors, or someone wanted to do like a play outdoor, there would be enough space in an area for that to occur.
Yeah.
To some extent.
Yeah, to some extent, but I think because of I'll call it the nodes and the thought of trying to practice social distancing, we've really, it's not a large space, and so we've kept these nodes at a more, I guess, personal level at that point. And so that we're encouraging people to come, but you have a group of folks here, a group of folks there, and folks over here.
Let me go back over to the event center agreement, because I think that more plays into the idea that you're bringing up here. Our conversation with the event center developer has always been that they would be a hub not just for indoor events, but also be a hub to do some outdoor events. And so I think that they definitely envision, after COVID-19 is behind us and they actually have a development going there, that they would pick some times where they would use part of their parking lot to do some tents and abut that right up abut that right up against to the park, so that they could have something on a concrete surface in a tent that spills over out onto the park. So the conversation you're bringing up is definitely one that's been had here. I think all of the details aren't necessarily a thing that are going to be happening with this Texas Parks and Wildlife grant, because part of it is going to be what does the event center actually get accomplished in their building program. The other thing I will mention is that, remember, Film Alley is already doing outdoor drive-in movies, and transitioning them to some outdoor events where they'll be able to take advantage of the park, I think is a wonderful idea. I can tell you that they'll need to probably have a lot of setup on their side of the creek. But one of the things that I think Lenny's done a wonderful job of here is we asked him to really not just confine himself to the linear park, just strictly the land that was dedicated to be the linear park, but also really get some design going in that drainage area. And you can see that he's put some trees and some planting down in that drainage area. We need to make that look good. It doesn't need to look like crummy drainage area and then a nice park next to a crummy drainage area. It needs to look like one big cohesive thing. And if you think about, well, why are my costs the way my costs are? Part of it's because we're not just trying to make a nice 1.6 acre node. We're trying to make a long linear strip here. And so, having that good transition between Film Alley and the event center, that's always what this idea was about. So I think we can get there. I just think that, there's just more work to be done on it.
This design is more COVID friendly.
Yes, sir.
I've been to campuses, universities where they're starting to do that, so that the students have some space to get out of their dorms, and yet they're able to keep it in a small group. And it looks like if we're able to do that, then maybe the funding would be available. It's a new concept, really, right?
Absolutely.
Okay. No, I like that. I think that works well. Moving forward. Does anybody have any further questions or comments?
My last comment will be on, I think I've started seeing more and more opportunities at newer parks to add like the electrical plugs, right? Whether it's your phone or something like that. I know like the Dallas Downtown Park, that they just added down there, the green space, they have tables or long tables, and then you're able to plug in your phone. And I've seen that happen around locations where you might have a convention center, et cetera. And sometimes it's the convention center, right, that places those electrical boxes that in maybe their outdoor seating. But it provides, I think, an opportunity for those that are here for business or et cetera, to do that. Do we have some of that in this plan? Would we kind of be depending a little bit more on the convention center to do that?
At this particular time, we do not have that in plan, but what we do have is a plan in place to have portable units during events that we can set out. We've already identified the cost. The cost has gone way down. For a couple $100, you can get these stations, on Amazon anymore. So the opportunities are available.
Thank you.
Okay. Thank you, Joe. Thank you. Is there anything else? At this time, do we have anything in executive session? All right, at this time, we're going to adjourn into executive session in accordance with Section 551 of the Texas Government Code to discuss the following. Section 551.072, deliberations regarding real property.
Mayor, I make a motion that we approve Resolution 998.
We have a motion from Charles Whitaker, District 4. Is there a second?
I second.
I have a second for Grady Simpson, Mayor Pro Tem District 2. Is there any further discussion? Hearing none, all those in favor, let it be known by saying
Aye.
Aye.
aye. All right, motion carries. Thank you, gentlemen. We'll see you at 7. We are adjourned.